Boys, I have the craziest market prediction, and honestly, in what Valve's done in the past, I don't think this is looking too unrealistic. But before we continue, I need you to grab your crazy hats and put them on, because what I'm about to say is going to be bloody crazy. So everyone knows that the new update came out recently that allows 5 coverts to trade up to a knife or some gloves. But what I was thinking is the long-term reason for doing this. And I think it's quite simple. They want to remove cases entirely, and that includes unboxing knives. And you're probably like, well, why would they do that? Well, the past updates, the Armory update, and now the Genesis collection being launched kind of shows you that they're moving away from cases, away from the gambling kind of system, because in a lot of countries it's banned and people can't participate in unboxings because it breaks their gambling laws. So to bypass this, they're doing the Genesis collection, they're doing the Armory passes, because that isn't gambling. You're just buying for a product. So this is their kind of sneaky way to get out of it. And this is where it kind of leads into the fact that I think that in the future, there's going to be no cases. There's only going to be Genesis collections, and they're going to add knife skins that you can trade up to through reds. So maybe old knife skins will become a rarity, or maybe they will be put into like a general pool and they'll kind of mix everything up. But I don't think Valve is done with what they are planning for the future. I think this is just the first step in something crazier. So I've got my paint here, and I'm just going to kind of map it out for you. So we have the Genesis collection, you know, we've got the little boxes, the Genesis. We've got the Genesis, right? Which only has reds, no knives, okay? So this one came out, everyone was like, oh, this is crazy, this is weird, why are they doing this? And a lot of people assumed that it's because they want to go away from gambling, which is probably the realistic reason for doing so, because they want to bypass those international laws. They added Armory passes. Some little stars here, you know? Like that, nice and cute. So they've got the Armory passes, which bypasses international gambling laws. So obviously you can redeem cases, you know, there's only one case left on it because they took away the other case and they replaced it with more stickers and whatnot. So people weren't expecting that. People were expecting a new case, and that kind of took them by surprise, took me by surprise as well. But this kind of pushes the narrative of moving away from cases, and there only being 6 in the active map duty pool. So with the addition to Armory passes and the Genesis, and now with the new update, the 5 reds to a knife. Ignore my drawing skills, it's terrible, but 5 reds to a knife was an interesting change. Initially, I thought, well, they're trying to get rid of these mega investors. They're trying to make skins more accessible for the public, because really high tier quality knives started to become unattainable. People could not afford good looking skins, and they had to settle for very expensive dog water looking skins. And I'm for the update that they've caused. I'm not for the massive market crash that's happened, but I think overall, and for the future perspective of the game, I think it was a well needed change. Some people will disagree with me, and I 100% see their point of view, and a lot of people are very depressed about that change. And like I said in the last videos, if you're feeling down in the dumps, seek help, talk to friends and family. It's never worth it taking the other way out. I promise you that. But anyway, back to it. So they're going away from the old unboxing of cases, and they've introduced new systems. So my theory is that in the future, the Genesis will be able to trade up to a knife, and whether that is going to introduce a new collection where you can trade up only to knives. You can't unbox them. You can't, you know, keep re-rolling the Genesis collection. There's going to just be only coverts, right? And then the new knives being put into a pool, or maybe they put all the old ones in it too as well, is they're all going to be traded up through red and coverts. So that means you have to have 5 coverts to try your luck. And because it's a gamble, but by international laws of gambling, it's not gambling. You're just, you know, trading 5 coverts for a knife. So they kind of bypasses that. And at the current moment, the collection, the Genesis collection, can't be used in trade-ups for knives, but From what Valve has already done, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually change this in the future, because nothing is off the tables for Valve. Valve controls everything. They do what they please. And with that precedent, I think this might become into fruition. The current weekly drops is the Kilowatt Case Revolution, Recall, Dreams, Nightmare, as well as the new sealed Genesis terminal. I think in the future, we're going to start to see these get retired, and they're going to be introducing new terminals. Whether or without a knife, I'm not sure, but the way it's going, I feel like a lot of these other discontinued or rare cases are just going to be completely removed from the game entirely. I think they've just kept them around to, keep the player base at bay. But I think their ultimate goal is to bypass all international laws and try to keep knives somewhat friendly for consumers in terms of prices. Because that leaves the question. I feel like there's only two reasons to do the update that they did 2 days ago, and that's to make knives more accessible for other players, because them being a luxury item is ridiculous. It's a video game that people like to enjoy. It shouldn't be considered an investment. If you want to invest, you should be investing in stocks, businesses. You should be investing in actual things that have return. Sure, you get returns from CS2 skins and whatnot, and I'm not trying to deny people to make money. You can make money all you want, but the fact that people are buying large amounts of the supply just to sit in storage containers is not very fair on the rest of the population. And if you disagree with me, that's completely fine, but you are disagreeing with someone who has probably a bigger inventory than you and has lost more money than you in this crash. And I am all for it, because these big investors, mostly Chinese, are the ones hoarding the large supplies, and that's just not on. But enough of that. The second reason is the trade up, is getting rid of cases and making reds the only source of trade ups to knives and gloves for special rare items. That doesn't seem so far-fetched for what they've done in the past. And honestly, it could be something, or maybe it'd be a different system implemented in the future. So it's not going to just be like COVID SCOTUS knives through the Genesis collection or something, but maybe a new knife collection will be introduced to just the terminals. So the terminals will be like 2 or 3 terminals, and then out of those terminals, they can all be traded up to these new knife sets or something similar along those lines. But it's undoubtedly that they're moving away from cases, and this new system of armory passes and Genesis collection is going to be the future of Counter-Strike, and the new update kind of shows that they are moving in that direction. Anyway, boys, that was my crazy little theory. I could be completely off, but I've been thinking about this when I was at work, and I was like, this could be some crazy level strategy by Valve, but that's just my guess. Either or, I don't really care too much the way they go, but I'm happy that knives and gloves are more affordable and accessible to the average player, and that's what I'm kind of happy about. Sure, I lost money, but I'm happy that more people get to enjoy those kind of luxury skins. So yeah, anyway, enough yapping. Thank you all for listening and giving me your time for today. I'll be back with more market updates maybe tomorrow or the next day, and I'll see you then. Mwah. Oh.